You can't have a respectable Lego medieval port unless you have a boat. And in this video, I'm going to share with you 2 boats that we constructed for our port addition to our Lion Knights medieval castle. Now in our last video, we hadn't quite been able to finish the port. We were a few pieces short. So now that we got our order in, we have finished the cobblestone base, and we also were able to connect the port to the castle appropriately. And if you want to check out our build on the port, please be sure to check out our last video. We have our link to the plans from Rebeickable where we got the mock. Now for our boats, there are a lot of really good builds on Rebeickable, but we wanted to find some boats that would not be too big for our port and for our castle. There are some boats out there that would be almost the size of our Lion Knights castle. So the first boat that we found on Rebeickable was by a builder, and please forgive me if I mispronounced the name, but it looks like Moradornathi. And I really like this build because it's the size of the boat that we wanted. It was for the Lion Knights. And it was a really nice looking medieval themed boat. A couple things I didn't like about it. I didn't like the use of the yellow on the bridge, so we did make that change. And like all of my builds, I always try to use as many pieces as I have, so my builds are never 100% like the mocks that I find on Rebeickable. And as you can see by the mast there, it's curved. It's not supposed to be, but those were some black pieces that we had left over from another build, and that's what I use for the mast. The actual mast in the build itself is much sturdier, so I'm going to have to try and work out some ways to sort of make that mast stay because it's a little bit flimsy. The directions also called for some nice curved pieces, so you'd have one continuous railing around the bridge, but I didn't have those pieces either, so I made do with what I had, and you really can't tell unless you're looking for it. I also cheated a little bit on the ship's lanterns, and I used whatever wheel I had. The plans called for a different wheel, but this is what I had, and wheels can be a little bit expensive. Now the directions themselves were not always the clearest. Even though it was a small build, you sort of have to figure things out on your own. And I'm not exactly the best builder. I kind of like to have things laid out pretty clearly for me when I'm building. And when they had the picture within the picture, there were quite a few places in the directions where the picture was sort of covering up where you were building. So you kind of had to figure it out on your own. But the directions were free, and it's an amazing build, and it looks really good on the table, and it's the size I wanted. So overall, I really, really like the look of it, and unfortunately, until I get the mast fixed, my kid can't play with it, which is unfortunate. I might even just use tape just for now, just so he can play, because I don't want the mast to fall on the ground and go into 50 pieces under other pieces of furniture. But the second build that we have is a small little dinghy boat by a builder by the name of Bull's Brick. This is also on Rebeickable, and it's also free. And it's only about 60 parts, and I had quite a few of the parts myself. There are a few specialty parts that I had to track down, and of course there were some things that I just made use of. One of them is the, instead of that one part that looks like the rope there to go from the mast down to the front of the boat, I just used the string from my old 60-80 castle that I have that held the drawbridge up, and I just used that. So it's a 40-year-old string that came with the castle that I used to tie the mast to the front of the boat, and saved a few dollars on the Lego piece there. But that boat really is nice. It looks like a little I think of Jack Sparrow coming in on Pirates of the Caribbean on a small dinghy there, and it actually uses the old pirate ship's base there for that boat. And again, it's a good look too. It's the size that I want because it doesn't overwhelm the port and it doesn't overwhelm the castle. And I don't want to have a whole lot of space that's water on my table. I want to be able to keep the port condensed and keep the water condensed. And the size of this boat and the other boat really, really give me that sense of a lively port without taking up too much space. Now, since we've added our port to our Lion Knights castle, we have decided to undertake some major renovations. And right now, we're working on the courtyard. And if you want to see what we've been doing, you can check out our last video too. We detail that. But the back of the port there, we've added some more cobblestone to the platform there, to the base, and we're going to extend that up where the green is there. We're going to fill that all in with cobblestone. And then, of course, we're going to reconnect the Lion Knights castle there so that it becomes a fully enclosed courtyard. We're elevating the base so that we can eventually do a dungeon underneath of the courtyard. So that'll be in future updates, working hard on that, waiting for some more orders to come in, and hopefully in the next couple weeks we'll have an update on that. But that is all that we have for this video. Thank you guys for tuning in, and until next time, happy building.